Aha! It is working. All right, welcome. Let me just see if I need to mute these. There we go. Okay, welcome. This is my first live stream. And my plan for these is to basically just do some writing and do some editing and kind of just bring you along on the journey. Today I'm looking very autumn because I realized autumn is only a few days away and I'm in denial. Let's see here. What do I need here? Just looking at my chat here, seeing if I can see it. I can see it all. Good. Okay. Just in case, not that anyone's watching. Anyway, welcome to the first one. What the heck is going on? I'm looking in the camera, that's what. There we go. So, the story behind this specific... My name is Prairie Sky Smith, by the way. Welcome. This is a fantasy novel, as it says in the description, that I'm working on editing. I've had this one written for a while, but it's like super rough. It's kind of like I have this whole other project that's a series of books that I've outlined and I'm starting to draft where it's the same characters, but older. So this book is kind of backstory, but recently one of my siblings asked me if I had anything that would be appropriate for my niece to read. She's super into fantasy. She's super into reading, voracious reading, and she's doing a bit of writing on her own now, which is kind of cool. But a lot of the stuff that I've drafted over the years is not really appropriate, age appropriate. She is 10. No, 9. Yes, 9. She will be 10 later this year, I suppose. So eventually, like at the time when my sibling asked me that, I was like, no, I don't really have anything appropriate. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, there is this story, but it's just such a rough shape. Like I might give it to her as is, because it is something to read, but it's not really a story yet, if you know what I mean. Like it needs developmental editing like crazy. So that's that. Oh, I see. Okay, all good. So this is it. It is called Princess of the Night, The Adventures of Marbia, which is the made-up land where all my stories take place, my fantasy stories. It says books 1 and 2 because when I first wrote this, I did a weird thing where I kind of wove 2 stories together, essentially. And they kind of like jumped back and forth between the chapters. But the second story, so I took them out for this draft. And the second story, it's only 7 chapters long, like it's really short, and it's really like juvenile audience, I would say, which is fine, but it's like you almost, because it's so few chapters woven into the other ones, you almost like lose track of it. Side note, my phone is playing copyright-free fantasy, like adventure background music, to be on theme. So that way, hopefully, it doesn't get like flagged and the audio doesn't get muted in the rewatch of this video. So that's that. That was the side note. So, developmental editing, which is like editing the narrative when it's a mess. I discovered this ages ago, and this is the story grid. It's very close to Save the Cat, if you know that. Save the Cat is more for screenplays, and Story Grid is more for novels. So, when I discovered this, probably, I don't know, 5 years ago? Probably less, actually. It might have been in 2020. It really took me from just kind of like flailing around with my writing to actually figuring out story. Like, obviously, read enough novels, watch enough TV, watch enough movies, you kind of get somewhat of an understanding of narrative. But like, it really lays it out for you, right? And then you see the pattern that every writer uses when they're writing narrative, whether that's for screen or books, whatever, novels, etc. I mean, even narrative nonfiction, right? Like, you can kind of like, after you read this, it really opens your eyes to that. And then you see how BSE biographies can be, etc. And also, and other narrative nonfiction. I don't know. It has all this black stuff on it. I'm not sure what it is. It's like a broken pen or something. Doesn't matter. It's really a workbook, so like, it's beat up. That's okay. So this book that I'm editing right now, Princess of the Night, I wrote it before I discovered this, so that's part of the reason why, like, I was fighting so hard to like get this story out, and I just couldn't. It just was not happening for me. Okay, so the thing that I like to do is, there's two parts to the story grid. There's the Foolscap Global Story Grid, which I don't think I've worked on yet. Oh, I have a little bit, but it's still not there. Like, I really have to figure out the granular structure of it first. So that's the Story Grid spreadsheet, which I'm working on right now. So the Story Grid spreadsheet right here, you can see I'm part of the way through. You take what's on the page. Well, this is the way I'm using it right now. You don't necessarily have to use it this way. You can use it several different ways. But the way I'm using it right now is like, I'm going through the text of this story. It's not really a book yet. And just like analyzing what the heck is going on. So the most important thing, I guess I'm in the way for that. So let's go down to here. To like 7. The most important part for me is the word count, because of reasons. The story event is really important. And then the turning point is really important. Polarity, polarity's not as important for me, so I'm gonna figure that out later. But the turning point, because that's kind of the thing in the scene that propels the plot forward, right? And then locations, characters, duration, that's all, like, that's important later, but right now I'm really just trying to figure out if this has a story structure, which I'm kind of coming to the realization that it doesn't. There's a lot of random stuff that's more like character building and building the relationships between the characters that is probably going to get cut out, to be honest. So there's this whole prologue where, like, there's the main character, Val. There's three main characters. Valeru, Fabula, and Euphornia. Fantasy names, right? Constructed languages. We'll get into it. So in this prologue, it's 3,000 words. So, like, the story grid, it has this whole chapter, which I'm on, called The Numbers, which kind of talks about how long or how short scenes should be. Not necessarily chapters, but I kind of try and keep in mind that it is chapters. And it's saying about 2,000 words is a good length for a scene / chapter because it's long enough to do all the things that scenes need to do and short enough that people want to keep reading if it's compelling, right? So for the prologue, 3,000 words, that's a bit longer, but things get cut out, etc., etc. I really think this is strong because it's like this mage abducts Val, which kind of sets up the rest of the plot and their relationship. And it is kind of like that thing, so like in the story grid, they have like obligatory scenes in like genre conventions. So fantasy genre, one of the conventions is like, you have this person and you set up their like normal world and then something happens to kick off the story. So that's kind of what it's doing. But then like the next like 10 scenes are just, I don't know if they're doing anything. It's like people meet and then they get torn apart and then they meet other people and like, but that's kind of what you find out in doing this. It's very, it's a very analytical way of looking at creative work. And it does run the risk of getting you into being formulaic. But as long as you have that in your mind, you can kind of use it as a tool to analyze, like, is this actually a story yet? And I'm feeling like this isn't, but it's because a lot of this, like, fronted material that I have in the beginning is just not necessary. Or, like, the little glimmers of things that could be necessary to the story are kind of like buried in among the slush and could be pulled out for flashbacks later to kind of deepen characters' stories, you know what I mean? So it's not all useless. Like, a lot of this writing is like me getting to know these characters and figuring out who they are and what makes them tick, but it's not necessary to the story. Okay, so having said all that, I'm going to look at scene 13. And you can see the word counts, like I said, prologue, 3,000 words, bit long, but then everything else is way too short, 700 words sometimes, and they don't match up with chapters. They're like random bits of chapters. So, Euphoria runs the shoreline to say a season look goodbye to Shuashi. I can't pronounce my own character's name, so that's awesome. Okay, just figuring out where I am. She shares a magic spell with her. That's like, see, that's the thing. It's like, that's kind of good, sort of. But also not really. So here it is. So what is it? Chapter 8, but scene 13. So like, you know, as I said, chapters don't line up with the thing. The scenes. Just checking. Just checking something quick here. Okay, good. There we go. So there will be some times when I kind of fall silent as I'm working through this. And I mean, in future streams, it might just be like a write with me, writing sprint, whatever. We'll see. So, oh, I highlighted it for myself. Here's where we are. Chapter 9. Okay, so she goes back. So this character is like a foundling who's kind of fae adjacent. She's human with deer antlers, and she's being raised. So she has this mermaid friend. See, like, there's a lot of stuff in here that does not need to be in here. Like, she has a mermaid friend. She was raised by a unicorn. But that's not even, like, none of that has to do with the main story. The main story has to do with those three protagonists who are kids who meet and they're friends, and they go monster hunting together. That's like the essence of the story, and I'm just having a hard time in this draft getting to the story. So what happens here? The day was, oh my gosh, it's already 1:25. I'm only doing an hour, and I was supposed to start at 1, but first time doing this, didn't quite have the settings right. You get me. Maybe I'll extend to like 2:15. We'll see. Okay. So she goes back to the unicorn herd. And then they're meeting up with a different herd. And the giant red and black lions that live in the mountains. Oh yeah, so I guess this is the thing about it that is the reason why I included all this in this story. So the mermaid that she knows, so the unicorn raised her, and in my world, my magical world, animals can basically have telepathy where they can talk, but their talking is thinking, which is not a new idea by any stretch of the imagination. So because she was raised by unicorns, she's never really talked. She's just communicated with the unicorns that way, which is not a necessarily usual thing for humans to do. So she's fae, so. And then her mermaid friend teaches her to talk, and she's talking, and the unicorns are like, what the heck is going on? Why are you making noise? Oh, it's a song even. So it's a song that's a spell. And she offers to teach it to her unicorn foster sister, I suppose you could call her. But the unicorn's like, I can't sing. That's all that happens in that chapter. Oh, and she gets in trouble for singing. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. I mean, it's something. $7.83. So the story event is kind of like, what is the main thing that happens in the chapter? Euphoria sings her song, her spell, gets in trouble for it, offers to teach to Booyah, not Booyah. Later that day. Okay, the value shift. So I did work on the global foolscap for this story because that's where it gets into like the values at stake, etc., which are what? Let me just see if I can open this in a different window and drag it over for you. Global foolscap. Here we are. There we are. Okay. Okay. Foolscap Global Story Grid for Amorabia 1, Princess of the Night. I don't know if that's going to be the name. We'll see. It kind of like went along with this whole like series title ideas that I had, but it kind of doesn't make sense. I don't know. I wasn't talking to you. I don't know if you heard that. My Siri like woke up. Whatever. Okay, so here's where we get into external genre fantasy action. Not necessarily adventure, because it's not really a quest. It's more like, or a journey. It's not a journey. I guess you could say it's a quest in that they're trying to fight monsters, but they're not really traveling on a journey anywhere. So, external value at stake, freedom or imprisonment. Okay, so yeah, like, and obviously you can see there's some of this I have not filled out because I just could not figure it out without delving into the nitty gritty. So the freedom and imprisonment thing is the three main characters all have in common, like they have these forces in their lives that are trying to tell them what to do and what their destiny is, blah blah, and they just want to be free to spend time with each other, with their friends. So in that case, that's like overarching. So in that case, this would probably be a minus. So like minus for me is towards imprisonment, plus is towards freedom. So why was the one before minus? I think it was more a plus, right? This friggin' thing. I don't understand. Oh my goodness. It's not working now. Okay, whatever. We are going to do this. We are going to... It was... Makes it work? Yes, okay, there we go. Because, like, she figures out how to talk, and she gets this magic spell from her friend. So, in that way, she's, like, more free. She has more knowledge, etc. Then she tries to teach it to her unicorn friend, and she sings it, and she gets reprimanded. So, I'm going to put negative in terms of, like, it's not literal imprisonment. It's metaphorical. Like these themes, or not themes, these values are really like overarching, right? They're not necessarily specific. Prison could be a prison of the mind. Whatever, you know what I said. what I'm saying. So, like, she has experienced less freedom because she's like, no, that's not the way unicorns act. You can't do that. Shut your mouth. Etc. So, here's the problem, though. Well, I guess the turning point in this scene was when she gets reprimanded, right? When she gets reprimanded. Like, it's Shothy, who is her, like, foster mother. Point of view is her again. Duration is like 15 minutes. Kind of guess at that. You know, sometimes if you're writing like a battle, obviously that's going to be hours, but like a little interaction like this, you know, it's just a few minutes. Do you like my massive, massive water bottle? It's one of those ones that has the hours on it, and I'm a little short, apparently. Need more water. Okay, location. We've been in this location before, right? Is it near the Great Ravine? The plains on the shores. Near the shores and the delta. Which I can show you. Ooh, that's a cool thing. I use Inkarnate to create my fantasy maps, if you have heard of it. And then some of them, excuse me, I put into this because, again, like, I'm thinking of sharing this Google document with my niece so she can read it. So there's the overall map. This one I just worked on a few weeks ago to make it better. It was really basic before. Now it's got more of the, like, political affiliations marked. And I added some more names. I added better labels. This and that. Whatever. So, this is it. It's still not, like, perfect. But I like it a lot better, and I'd rather work on the actual writing. Like, I can lose hours and hours working on these maps, right? They're still helpful. This is an older version of the one for this specific book. I have a better one now. But yeah, we're basically talking about this area here. There's a delta, there's a big ravine, there's plains. As you can see, that's where the unicorns live. There's this jungle, then there's like a mountain range. It's cool, it's fun. Then this is the lands of Fetha. That's more about the book too, and I actually haven't really touched that yet. You can see they're here, specifically around here, and I just don't want to do that right now. I probably will when I get to editing that second book, which is more like a short story, really, or novella. Because I get into the maps because I'm like, I want to be specific about descriptions and about places and kind of get the logistics of like characters moving around right, so I'm not, you know, building plot holes and like inconsistencies within my narrative. You know, maybe you don't. I don't know. Now you do. Let's move on to chapter 10. Oh, before I do that, characters. I get really annoyed with this, but it is important. Like, it's very important to do this stuff, and I know that, because again, you don't want to build inconsistencies within the narrative. So this is a good way of like having a record of it, so that if and when you have to go back and like figure out what the heck you were talking about, you have a record. But gosh, it's tedious sometimes. Spreadsheets, right? Okay, so let's go back. Obviously, there's Euphoia. Obviously, there's what's her face? Vuya. Oops. There we go. And then her foster parents. And then the rest of the herd, which I believe I decided. Where did I write that down? Oh, 30. There's 30 members of the herd. So 30. So that's the number of characters. Then her mermaid friend is off screen. She talks about her. That's one. Oh, actually, no. The rest of the herd and one other one. Herd. So that's more like 50. Oh, interesting. Cool. Thanks, bot. What the heck is going on here? Nope. Oh my gosh. There we go. Oh my gosh. Me and mirrors. Okay, so that's that. So that's kind of the process, everybody. Yeah, halfway through, half an hour, and we've done one scene. The polarity shift. Should we even talk about that? I mean, I could look in the book, I suppose. Let's see. Because it's like this weird thing where it's like the opposite, well, not necessarily, sometimes the opposite of the value shift. It's more about like the way that things happen. Gosh, I can't find it. Okay, maybe we won't talk about it. It's like change, you know? Like, are things changing or are they not changing? It's not negative, positive like the value shift. Okay. Now, chapter 10. So yeah, this is third person limited perspective, I believe. Oh, I wrote it down. Yeah, multiple third person limited point of view. So told from the first person, and like the way they would experience it. It's not omniscient, you know, they can't see everything, blah, blah, blah. They see what they see, but the perspective switches around, so now it's Val's perspective. And he woke up. He's an apprentice. He's a mage apprentice. He's met his friend Fav, and the two of them are growing it up in the forest. They're buddies, and he met Fav when Fav... Actually, I won't spoil it for you, just in case this ever becomes a thing. Hopefully. Oh my god, I'm unlisted, that's why. Put this video on the list, unlisted. Oops. Can I fix that for you? Well, we're learning things, I suppose. Learning as we go. Okay. Oh, he's going to get water. He's thinking about his friend and what they're gonna play today. He's eager to get there. Except then he gets caught by Vidire, who is his like guardian dude, teaching him to be a mage. The one item I've run out. Okay, so he's sending him on an errand. Which means he ran off to go find his friend at their fort, their play fort that they built. It's very much childhood flashbacks. Okay, so his friend tackles him. I have an errand, we'll do it later. He doesn't want Vidire to suspect that he has a friend. Because, so he doesn't really know or remember, but Vidire the mage was the one who abducted him from his family. Because he was that powerful, even as a child. And he just had to train him. But he's very much like a hermit, an ascetic. Took him to this very isolating place and doesn't believe in the corrupting influences of other children, etc. So yeah, so that again, that's like the freedom versus imprisonment that weaves itself through the story. Okay, so okay, so Fav is showing him, I believe, that's what happened. Oh yeah, it's like these fairies that make a nest, and he shows it to him, and then what? You can smell us. Oh, and then he got his... Oh no, they feed them these flowers that they like. It's cute, but I don't know if where it would fit in the story. Oh, and then he runs off after them. No way, come back. Oh, so he's cornered this one fairy. And now he's guilty because it might not be safe. They all left. We've made friends with them now. Soon we'll be invited into their home. So Fab is excited and Val is guilty. The dream route, I forgot it. So he forgot his errand. That's okay. So that's like pretty much one scene spread over 2 chapters. So that's way long, and like not a lot happens, right? So let's see. I haven't read this for a long time, so I actually forgot about this whole incident, we shall call it. See, like 3,000. Like it's so uneven. 3,086. I guess I should have had a coffee. It's probably not great to yawn. Whatever. Just before the wet season begins. I mean, I guess it's a plus again, because it, like, he did get to be free. Although he imprisoned the Fae, so that's something. Interesting. Turning point. When Val corners the Fae and is afraid it will be eaten by monsters. Well, when he leaves it, I guess. Duration, it's probably like hours. Because he's with Fadire and then he leaves and they meet up. Probably like 4, like half a day. The jungle. In the valley. Fake. From the valley. Oops. Oh, they mentioned the village elders, which I think there's 6 of them, if I remember. Okay, so another one done. And what is the point of this scene? I don't know. Okay, chapter 12. There's only 29 chapters too. Like, it's another really short one. Which is why, another reason why I'm like, maybe it's a kid's book. For real, for real. Okay. Oh, okay, so this is like, it's like this whole strange bit that I thought up years ago where there's the unicorns, they live in herds, so they're not like classical unicorn, they're more like wild horses. And then there are flocks of Pegasi, which I know Pegasus is not a, it's like a individual, but whatever. I'm making it up. It's made up. So there's flocks of them and they migrate. So their social behavior is more like geese, where they migrate seasonally, and they're coming back to the north, which does not make sense. The hot, dry season had come early to the southern lands. Like, oh my gosh. Does this make it 6 months later? This is why it's good to do this, because the period, time, location, duration, all of that, you can kind of like iron out what doesn't make sense. Because you can see like this one a few scenes ago was years later at the end of the dry season, which was very specifically laid out in that scene. And then later that day. This one does not have a specific time laid out, but it does imply that it's still the dry season because there's no rain. So that's why I said just before the wet season begins, to kind of like have it on the same timeline. But then this next one goes back to Euphoria, and it's no, I know what. No, I don't want to do that. And it's saying the end of the wet season. So that's 6 months later. Because the setting of this particular book is... So it's right here. So it's equatorial. So it's dry season, wet season. There's no spring, summer, fall, winter. Like there would be in a more northern or more southern place. So this is saying that it's 6 months later, which, like, it goes back to Euphoria, so it could make sense. But also, why? Why would I have done that? Let us push on, shall we? The rainy season was coming to a close. Rainy, wet, monsoon, whatever. And they spotted the Pegasus flock. Okay, so they intermingle, and there are Unipegs, etc., who go with the Pegasus flock. Because the flocks are a little bit, from what I remember from my notes way back when, the flocks are a little bit more welcoming, and the herds, like, if they get too big, they have to, like, kick members out and stuff. Sort of like wild horses. Anyway. Da, 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 da. Oh, excuse me. Need coffee. Yeah, see? Unicorn, Unipeg, Pegasi. He broke... Oh, yeah. I also wrote this thing in, like, so many details that maybe do not matter. I wrote this thing in where, like, the unicorn herd is a lot more about formality and ritual, and the Pegasi are a lot more like laissez-faire and they don't gruff a crap. They're a lot more casual. Okay, so they're talking. Partake of our feast. Oh, right. This is a whole thing where Euphoi has always wanted to fly on the back of a Pegasus. But she's afraid to ask, and then she does ask, and then... Oh, okay, so this seems useless, but then she spots like a fire in the jungle, like smoke from a fire in the jungle, and the Pegasus she's flying with tells her that those are humans, and she realizes there are other people around for the first time. And she didn't know. So that is kind of like the turning point. So there is a point to it after all, 1582. Asks. Oh, hello. There's someone in the chat, finally. There's not that many chapters, actually. There's only 29, which is actually not a ton. It's not a long story. Where was I? And does. Cool. That's awful. That's terrible. This first draft is a complete draft, but I think it's 50,000 words, which is not that long. But yeah. Losing 4K words, that's rough. It's taking me so long lately to write things. It's like pulling teeth. But this one I did years ago when I was just writing, which is why I'm editing it now, because it's kind of garbagey, because I did just write it and I didn't really think about it much at the time. Okay, so I did say in this scene, the turning point is when she spots fire from the air, which is the whole reason why she was flying. So it's not a useless scene, and realizes that there are other humans nearby. And she's never met another human, so. In terms of the value shift, I don't know, this one's kind of weird, right? Because it's like, I guess having other friends is good. So I guess it would be positive, but this is the problem with this draft, is like, there's no, if nothing bad is happening, if nothing negative is happening, there's no reason for conflict. Or there is no conflict. You know what I mean? Like, not good. But for now, I will just fill this out. Oops. Duration, I don't know, like 60 minutes probably? Well, 15 minutes to talk to the Pegasus, half an hour to fly, sort of thing. Yeah, okay. The planes. I think they're near the foothills. Oh, okay. that straight. Okay, now the characters, a bunch of characters who are new. Yay, you had my first viewer. Thank you, first viewer. Oh, right. Well, we're coming to the end here, so let me just finish up this scene, and then we will be done. I don't know why there's words in this song. I don't want words in my songs. Not when I'm writing. Okay. Nearby. Acadia. I think I meant acacia here. Oh, here we go. Here's another character. Pegasus flock and unicorn herd. So again, there were 30. I'm gonna say 60 because the flock is supposed to be bigger than herds. And 30 in a herd is kind of, well, it's, yeah, okay. Off stage, we talked about the mermaid one. Okay, that's it. Okay, so that's kind of my processing my process for when I'm doing developmental editing on my own. Oh, we got 1 minute left here. So, that's it. That's all. I'm gonna probably do that, you know, once a week, twice a week, whatever. And yeah. Tune in if you want to. You might learn something about this. Or if you just want, I don't know, an editing buddy. We'll see. In the meantime, have a good week. Hope you like the music. Let me know. And I'll see you later.